Thank you. Great. Okay, so thank you everybody for coming along. We have an apology from Councillor Ewan today, but item one, the co-option of a committee member in the event of a vacancy don't need to because we have our quorum. Item two, confirmation of minutes. Could I have somebody confirm minutes? Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Any dissent? No. Moving on to item three, consideration of supplementary items. Being none, we'll move to number 4, indications of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. Are there any? Being none, we'll move on to 5, transfer of agenda items. Would anybody like to transfer any agenda items?
Nope.
No. Great, thank you very much. Number 6, report 6.1, social support food programs fee waivers. Before I put the motion, perhaps we'd just have the director give us a little bit of a background on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this has been an annual report to committee in recent years. You'll have noted from reading the report that we allow the use of the kitchens at Mather's House and Criterion House for some charities to come in and prepare meals for people that may be sleeping rough, homeless, or otherwise have difficulty in accessing, I guess, a wholesome meal. So you'll see from the report that previously we have provided this facility for the King's Diner and the St Vincent de Paul Society, and committee and council have previously made the decision to waive the hire fees for both those organisations. We've also allowed Food Not Bombs to provide that service. More recently, we've had another charity who has been paying for use of the facility, Circle of Love and Care. In this report, we are recommending to committee that, in fact, Circle of Love and Care be provided with the same fee waiver that King's Diner and St Vincent de Paul have been receiving, because in our view they are providing a good service for the community, and we're satisfied that they're worthy of consideration for a fee waiver. Look, it is a delicate matter, but I do need to bring your attention to the Food Not Bombs program. You'll note that in the recommendation we are not recommending a full 12-month fee waiver for Food Not Bombs. We are recommending to you only 3 months, and we want to work with Food Not Bombs in that time, effectively putting the organisation on notice. You will have hopefully read at paragraph 4.14 in the report. We have a number of significant concerns about the delivery of that service. I have Mr Joseph here with me at the moment. He's been working with the volunteers at Food Not Bombs for some months, but we are not satisfied at this stage that the service is operating effectively as it could and as effectively as it should. And so we're asking for your, I guess, permission that we will only grant a fee waiver for 3 more months. And if the issues cannot be resolved in that time, then we would be seeking to end the relationship with Food Not Bombs at those facilities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. So I'll just have somebody move the motion, please. Councillor Harvey, thank you very much. And I'll open the item for discussion. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Councillor Dutta.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to the difficulties or the problems with the Food Not Bombs, what is really causing the problem?
Chair, through you, Mr Joseph, I'm happy for you to step in, but my read of it is essentially a number of interpersonal problems that the individuals involved simply cannot sort out. Do you have any of that, Mark?
Essentially, that's correct, through you, Chair. It's been ongoing conflict between members of the group for several months now, and we've endeavoured to assist in resolving that, but they haven't taken up that offer. So personal conflict, essentially.
All right, okay. So it's just a personal. Okay, thank you so much for that.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr Joseph. Are there any more questions, comments?
Only I'm happy with the report. I think it's good. I know I'm familiar with a couple of the other programs, and I think it's a good approach that you're taking with a 3-month condition with Food Not Bombs. So satisfied with and happy to support the recommendation.
I just have one more question if Dr. Sexton, Alderman Sexton doesn't have one.
Really?
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Dutta.
Thank you, Chair. This new organisation that mentioned Shrimand Raj Chandra, what more information can you provide for me? What sort of a group are they?
Through you, Chair, Councillor Dutta, they are a charity, a charitable organisation. They started in India. They're based in several countries around the world. Their main base in Australia is in Sydney. So they're a charity that they undertake a whole range of different social support programs, some to do with health, some to do with accommodation, food. They're also a registered training organisation, and part of their work in Hobart is running community services courses. And so they're actually engaging their students in the provision of the free service. So it's part of their community service course that they actually undertake the provision of the food of an evening at Mather's House, or in the lane at Mather's House and Criterion House.
Thank you.
So they're a registered charity within Australia.
Thank you.
I might just make a comment. I'm like Councillor Dutta, I don't know anything about this group, but just being a registered charity really is meaningless. We know that from the experience that we've had with other registered charities. For all we know, and I'm not suggesting this is the case, but for all we know, a registered charity, not this one in particular, might have a billionaire owning it. So we need much more information. And as I've repeatedly said, I think we need to apply some criteria, which we've yet to develop, as I understand it, to who it is that we give discounts of either rental accommodation or waive various fees, because what we don't want to have is a situation where we are providing free services to an organisation that's making thousands of dollars by charging, students $10,000 a year for a course and using our free services to facilitate those fees. Now, I'm not suggesting that's happening, but there's no indication that it's not. So I think we need to do better than we're doing, and I've said this on a number of occasions, with the information that we receive before we start giving away ratepayers' money.
Can I, Chair, through you, can I just clarify then, Alderman Sexton, are you asking us to do some further due diligence on this group?
Well, I've asked many times that before you bring this to us, that you do the due diligence, that we do understand who the owners of this are, who the directors are the directors paid any fees, all sorts of things that we need to know before we start giving away ratepayers' money. And so, yes, I am asking you to do that, but it's a more general request that we do it as part of a routine. And can we please get that those criteria for not-for-profits and for charitable organisations, etc., properly worked out, like other cities much smaller than ours manage to do.
Yeah. Oh, Chair, through you, yes, we will. I know Mr. Jackson and his team are working through that in the leases space, which is where the request has largely come from. In terms of this group, we can certainly come back to committee with some further information. Well, we could circulate that offline. If you're prepared to accept the recommendation, then we can certainly circulate that out of session.
I'm perfectly happy to accept the recommendation. Yeah. I don't want to prejudge these people harshly, yeah. but like Councillor Dutta, I've never heard of them, and I don't know what they do or don't do. And I think we do need to have some information. $4,000 is quite a lot of money. There are lots of organisations and individuals who are struggling at the moment through the pandemic who would love to have that sort of level of support.
If I can chime in, I am familiar with the organisation. I have been along to a couple of their functions. And I've met a lot of the volunteers that do hand out things. They are students in Hobart, and they volunteer their services. But like you guys, I don't know the background. I'm just looking at their website now, and I don't know whether they, well, you know, what their connection is to the volunteers that they use within certain colleges here in Hobart.
Yeah, Chair.
Yes, Councillor Dutta.
Thank you. Yeah, that was, you know, the reason for me to raise this particular issue, and because I have some experience in the past in Fiji, where people have come under this particular banner as voluntary, but they're charged a lot of money. So I just wanted to know a bit more about it. You know, is someone behind the scene making the money, but seen to be doing voluntary work? So a bit more information, as Alderman Saxon has said, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll provide that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So to my understanding, we're going to put the recommendation, and Mr. Short and his team will also circulate some further information with regards to the charitable organisation that's just been discussed. So I'll just put that motion. It seems like it will go through, so I'll just ask, is there any dissent? No, being none, I consider that unanimously carried. We'll now move on to 6.2, Summer Activation Program. And Mr. Short, once again, I'd ask you just to give us a bit of a background before I put this motion.
Thank you, Chair. Look, there's two parts to this report. Part one is responding to the council resolution that came out of the discussions on the Taste of Tasmania, which was to provide an overview of what an alternative summer waterfront activation could be. And the second part of the report is we're seeking your endorsement just to for a continued amendment to one of the grant programs, which I might just deal with first, and I'll come back to the waterfront program. You might recall that previously we have had a Christmas grant program which had reasonably low take-up. Coming out of COVID last year, we changed that program to a festive season charitable quick response grant program. The team identified that there was much more of a need in the charitable organisation space for those organisations that were helping people in need through the Christmas festive season. And we did, in fact, last year have a very strong take-up of that particular program, probably partly in light of COVID, but partly because perhaps it's a better aimed grant program. So second part of tonight's report, it's a timing issue, and that's why we needed to get it on this report rather than wait for the next committee, is to seek your approval to roll out that festive season charitable quick response grant again. And the report gives some examples of things that fund did support last year, and you'll see those in paragraph 4.3.6. The substantive part of the report responds to the council's decision. At the time of making that decision, we were not aware, and council was not aware, what the state government might have been doing in terms of looking at an alternative event for the Taste. As you'll all be aware, since that time, the government did come out and has called for expressions of interest for a one-off replacement of the Taste, or a Taste-like event. As we sit here now, we don't know the outcome of that process, but we would expect, I guess, COVID permitting and lockdown permitting, that there would well be a large event on the waterfront over this coming Christmas New Year period. So in understanding that, we've taken the liberty of widening out the scope of the report to make it not just a waterfront program. And again, you'll see there the team's come up with 5 initiatives within the funding that we have available, being next year, really critically, it's the 50th anniversary of Salamanca Market, which is a massive milestone for this council and this community to celebrate. So we'd really like to extend that celebration out on Parliament House lawns over a weekend. The idea of a food truck palooza. So let's get all the food trucks together in one place and invite the community to come in and enjoy and celebrate that. You'd be aware that we've recently refreshed Speaker's Corner down in the Salamanca waterfront precinct. So we'd like to more actively program that with some very thoughtful speakers, and again, really see that space come alive and be used for what it should be used for. And again, using the newly invigorated busking program to more actively see a programmed busking program in our parks and gardens over the summer, autumn period. And finally, something that came out of last year was the need to, the team identified the need to consider, well, how do we help local communities who might be interested in doing their own street party over the summer period? Because we did hear some evidence that there were local streets, local collections of houses and communities that would like to have a go. So the fifth one is about, all right, what can we actually do to help that happen? So we're looking for your endorsement of these principles tonight. Obviously, there is not the detail underpinning these ideas, but we're seeking your delegation to the CEO for us to go away and implement those particular ideas, finalise dates, and of course we'll keep elected members up to date on the actual happenings, but looking for your in-principle endorsement around those particular ideas tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Short. Are there any comments or questions?
I'm happy to support that. I think it's a good thing that we do. I just wanted to check. So it says part 3 says that the total budget, I'm assuming that includes everything, including of grants, etc., is 200,000. Is that right? Through you to Mr. Short? Yes. Okay.
Yes, Chair, through you, that is correct.
And I think we've set aside that. We understood that had been set aside when we discussed the finances, council finances. So I'm happy with the approach. I'm just a little concerned that because we don't know exactly what another party may be doing, that we might have clashes of proposals at some point in time, but I guess we have to wait and see.
Thank you. Are there any more questions or comments?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Councillor Dutta.
Thank you, Chair. Just 2 observations I make. One is with regards to the speakers. Why 7 speakers, and who the speakers do you have in mind is one question. And question number 2, the cost of fireworks. I understand a letter was written to the Mayor of Clarence, and he has said no, they won't contribute towards it. I was wondering if any letter or communication has been taken place between Glenorchy Council and also Kingborough Council, if they would want to participate or contribute.
Chair, through you, with regards to the fireworks, last year I believe we did ask the Greater Hobart mayors, and there was a general no. This year we've only approached the City of Clarence, and partly the reason is residents of Glenorchy and Kingborough effectively don't actually have a great view of the fireworks, and that was the point their leaders made last year. So it really is a Hobart Clarence thing. Clearly at the moment the response from Clarence is no, but we have budgeted anyway for a commitment to the fireworks. That is independent of the amount of $200,000. That's a separate allocation, which is the council has approved in the budget. And sorry, Councillor Duddy, you had a second question. I forgot.
Yeah. So you've answered the second question. And the first question was with regards to the 7 speakers. Why 7? And do you have anyone in mind and the topics, etc., or is it just going to happen?
Look, I think it's just really 7 speakers, 7 days. There's just an alignment there, and trying to program something over a full week. We don't have the speakers in mind yet. Again, we wanted to see whether you were liking of the principle, but they would be speakers that would be known to some people. We would look to have people that have some kind of, image or presence, and would speak on things that, are provocative perhaps or thoughtful, but in a constructive way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments, questions? Being none, I'll put that motion. Is there any dissent? No, carried unanimously. Thank you. And now we'll move on to item 6.3, which is the Community Culture and Events Committee review of COVID-19 format. I'll put that motion, and are there any comments or questions?
Well, I guess the question is there any reason why we wouldn't want to return to the physical meetings like pretty much everybody else has? But I do wonder, I think the current COVID legislation still applies, so there would be an opportunity, even if we agreed that we would meet in person in the town hall, there would be an opportunity for people to join by Zoom if their circumstances were such that they couldn't physically come in. Is that still the case through you to Mr. Short?
Chair, through you, yeah, absolutely. In reality, a decision to come back in person is a decision to go to hybrid meetings. So that the meeting would take place in the council chamber as other committees do, but we are certainly kitted up that any elected member or presentation is quite able to come in via Zoom for that meeting.
Well, I'm very happy with that concept, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions?
Well, I'm happy to continue with Zoom meetings, and if people want to turn up to the chamber for face-to-face, then that's fine, and I'll make up my mind on the night, I think. Yep, so happy with a hybrid for now until the legislation or whatever the regulation passes, is complete, and then back to face-to-face.
Chair, through you then, for the sake of clarity, if that is the will of the committee, could we just have a positive motion to return to face-to-face meetings in the knowledge that the reality is they are hybrid meetings?
So moved, yep.
Great, thank you very much. Is there any dissent on that? No, that's carried unanimously. And now I will move on to 6.4, applications approved under the delegated authority of the Acting General Manager for February 2022 biannual grant round. Could I have somebody?
I move that they be received and noted. I guess it's already happened, so that's fine.
Thank you,
Yes.
Alderman Sexton.
Just a question.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Now, when these grants are given out, do we then in return expect these organizations to submit a report as to how, say, 15,000 is used, is question one. And the other question is this all in cash, or does that include in kind as well?
Chair, through you, absolutely every grant recipient must provide an acquittal. And if they don't, that effectively means they won't be eligible for a further grant from the council. And secondly, yes, these are all cash grants. We do run, you might recall, a quick response grant that helps organisations with hall hire or venue hire. So that effectively is in kind, but the grants here that are before you tonight are cash grants and part of that biannual round, obviously twice a year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've received a noted, and thank you. Any dissent? No, being none, carried. We'll move on to 6.5. Sorry, would somebody like to, so the application is approved under the delegated authority of the Director of Community Life for quick response grants. Received and noted. Thank you. Councillor Harvey, any dissent? No, carried unanimously. And then we'll move on to item number 7, Committee Action Status Report. Committee Action.
Move that it be received and noted, Chairman.
Thank you. Any dissent? No, move on. It's carried unanimously. 8, questions without notice. Are there any? No, being none, I'll